Hi guys, and welcome back to Ask a Lawyer channel. I am back with 3 new stories. The first one is about a friend who destroyed OP's baby shower cake. Let's go to the story to find out why. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm pregnant for the very first time, and my husband of 3 years and I are thrilled. Everyone has congratulated us, and things have been great until now. My friend Sarah and I have known each other ever since we were college freshmen. We have always had a great relationship, and we always get along. We go shopping, go to dinner together, or visit each other's houses regularly. She and her husband of 5 years have been trying for a baby for 2 years, and they've been repeatedly unsuccessful. She has confided this to me. When my husband and I found out I was pregnant, I told family first, followed by friends. When the first time came to tell Sarah, I did it knowing that she was going through a very tough time because of her and her husband's inability to have a child. With this in mind, I told it to her, not making a big deal of it, and treaded lightly. I didn't want to hurt her feelings or be insensitive. She reacted very well and hugged me and told me how happy she was for us. She said that she hoped to one day have the same news for me. She insisted on my husband and I going out to dinner with she and her husband to celebrate. Since we are all good friends, we agreed, and everything went great. This was months ago, and I am now 7 months pregnant. Throughout my whole pregnancy, Sarah has been kind and considerate. She has even given me new baby clothes, along with other friends. I've made sure to also talk to her every once in a while about how this is affecting her, because I'm worried that she feels left out, because she really wants to get pregnant. She has told me every time that she is okay, and has assured me that she does not feel hurt or left out. She has told me that her and her husband will start going to fertility specialists to improve their chances of getting pregnant. My mom and I have been talking about having a baby shower for the past few months, and we decided to have one this Monday, since it was Labor Day. I invited all my friends, Sarah included, 1 week prior, and they all said they would come. I asked Sarah if she was comfortable coming and said I understood if she didn't want to come, but she assured me everything was okay. The day of the shower arrives and everything is going great. We were celebrating in our backyard, which had great weather this Monday, and playing silly baby shower games and just enjoying life, talking about my pregnancy, etc. Then we started talking some more, and a friend asks me how I feel about my life changing so much when we bring home our baby. I answered that I was happy and couldn't wait. Sarah scoffed and said, "You don't even sound grateful for the fact that you are pregnant. If I were you, I would show more enthusiasm." There was a pretty awkward silence, but I just brushed it off and we kept talking. Sarah had a nasty expression on her face the whole time and looked a bit uneasy. Sarah then started talking to another friend and mentioned loudly enough for everyone at the party to hear that I just got lucky while she had tried for a baby for years. Our friend got pretty uncomfortable and just changed the subject. We all sat down to eat, and during the meal, Sarah keeps saying that she deserves a baby, and that she didn't understand why I got all the luck, that she was younger than me, so it was more logical for her to be pregnant instead of me, etc. I got fed up with her rudeness and politely asked her to leave because she was making all of us uncomfortable. She stood up and loudly berated me in front of everyone, calling me a SWB, every possible insult, and yells at me, "I got the news that I'm infertile a few days ago, and I can't understand why someone like you gets to have a baby and I can't." I didn't know what to say at all. She left through our back door, the only way to get out of our yard. Our back door leads to the kitchen, which leads to the living room, where our front door is. After she leaves, things are still awkward, but we start talking again and try to end the party nicely. I go to our kitchen after eating to get the cake so we can cut it, and I walk into a mess. My cake, which cost $180, is in the sink, in pieces. Sarah had picked up the cake and turned it over into the sink. It was a huge mess of icing and pound cake pieces everywhere. She destroyed my cake. Everyone at the party knows it, and we all know it was her. I'm pissed. I asked her countless times if she was okay with me sharing my pregnancy with her. I warned her about my baby shower and told her it was okay if she didn't want to go. I've asked all my friends who were at the baby shower to not make a huge deal of things, to let me deal with it. I just don't know what to do. I called her yesterday and she didn't pick up. I'm very angry, but I keep thinking I must be wrong. I feel bad because I had no clue she was infertile. Now I feel as if I've just been rubbing it in her face. What do I do? Edit. Guys, since our mutual friends won't reach out to Sarah, I will reach out to her mom and sister so they can talk. I'll also wait for Sarah to contact me. Also that it isn't about the cake, etc. I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't want her to pay for the cake. I don't care about the stupid cake. It was the fact that she would destroy property that scared me. Because she has never been this way. Once again, this isn't about my cake. I don't think OP was rubbing her pregnancy into her face. She didn't know that Sarah was infertile. Sarah destroyed the cake because she was unable to cope with her bad news. She's grieving for something she can never have, barring extreme medical help. It's not right what she did, but grief makes people do insane things. And she may have been trying to cope for a long time, but it just wasn't working. She probably was okay with the idea of supporting OP and attending her baby shower, but once she was there, she got overwhelmed and just broke. But this does not excuse her behavior at all. I think OP should keep her distance and avoid stress as she is pregnant. My 56 male wife died at the young age of 51 from a car accident. I was in deep mourning for about a year after her death. I met my new girlfriend, C, 43 female, around January. C was the one who made me laugh for the first time after my wife died. She's smart as hell, 3 Ivy League degrees, has a dark sense of humor that I love, a terrific cook, and overall an amazing woman who I can imagine spending the rest of my life with. She is also on the heavier side, a fact that becomes relevant later. I have 2 children, E, 25 male, and A, 19 female. They were all aware I had gotten a new girlfriend before I first introduced them to C this summer. She got along immediately with E, but A was very standoffish. After that initial meeting, I asked A if there was something wrong, but she denied it. C made a few more attempts to get to know A, but they were all rudely rejected. E and A both came home for Thanksgiving dinner. I asked A to please be polite during the meal, since she's always been rude in her interactions with C, even though C has been nothing but gracious in return. The dinner was going as well as it could have for the first 10 minutes, although I noticed A glaring at C the entire time. When C went to grab her 3rd helping of mashed potatoes, A said, "Don't you think you've eaten enough, you fat pig?" C started sobbing immediately and ran off into the bathroom. I felt my face turn red and told A to get out. About half an hour after A left, I texted her stating that I would no longer pay her tuition unless 1, she apologized to C, and 2, C accepts her apology. A must have assumed that I was bluffing because she instead doubled down on her behavior during Thanksgiving dinner. I then logged into her university tuition payment website, canceled next semester's tuition, and sent A the screenshot. She called me crying and begging me to reconsider, but I told her my mind was made up. I definitely think that the daughter was wrong to be that rude and mean, but I also think that OP's punishment is out of proportion. This girl needs therapy and a deep and open conversation. But no longer paying college tuition that daughter was relying on for her future, that's just wrong. It's like saying that OP's love and support is conditional at a time where she most needs unconditional love and support from her remaining parent. I think this will push her away from OP. My ex-boyfriend is James. James and I dated for 3 years between spring 2014 and the end of winter 2017. Since my daughter is obviously older than 3, it's clear that she is not biologically James's. Her father was not someone who wanted to be involved with her and signed away all rights when she was born, so he is not involved in the picture. James and I were originally friends, which grew into a relationship when my daughter was around the age of 1. As my daughter grew a little bit older, she saw James as a de facto parent, a role that he happily stepped into. She knows that he isn't daddy, but had the strongest bond with him of anyone outside of the biological family. Our relationship finished owing to a difference of personal timelines. James wanted to buy a house together. We had lived together in the last year, but we each still had our own places, and move into another city to work. While I was happy where I was located, it became a self-imposed ultimatum, and while James didn't actually move, it was clear that our relationship was over. We stayed friends, and he changed from de facto dad to fun Uncle James to my daughter. We have both made sure that she was stable about the situation. something that she clearly seems to be. As I do with other friends, my daughter and I occasionally visit James, who sometimes has my daughter without me there for a couple of hours at a time if I have to run errands or something similar. I have no reason at all to worry about James with my daughter, who is always all smiles and 5 more minutes when I get back. About 6 months ago, James started dating Tracy. She is someone that he works with who I actually met while we were dating. Their relationship itself isn't the issue. However, there have been instances that have caused concern in the past few months. The first was when James invited me and my daughter around for a playdate with James's nephew, who he was babysitting. Tracy was there too, which I expected. However, when we arrived and James greeted my daughter with a hug, she commented on how she looked like her daddy, meaning James. Both James and I said that my daughter wasn't James's child, which is something James later said that had come up in conversation between them before. She only remarked that she meant they had a strong father-daughter bond, which I thought odd, but ignored. There have been a couple of other times when I have seen Tracy either out and about or at planned events when she has said that my daughter really likes spending time with James, which I obviously know, though I just took it as awkward exes chat. The reason I am posting about what happened a couple of days ago. Again, James was babysitting his nephew and had invited myself and my daughter to the park for an afternoon. We get there and everything is fine until my phone rings and I'm told that there's an emergency in the office that I have to sort out because X, Y, and Z aren't picking up their phone. I mention this, and James and Tracy offer to look after my daughter and stay in the park while I rush over to the office, only a 5-minute drive, to sort out the problem. I'm gone for about half an hour overall. The issue wasn't really an issue, as it never is. And when I get back, everyone is where I left them and all happy. We start getting ready to go home when Tracy mentions to me that someone that she knew, an amateur photographer, happened to be in the park taking pictures of the landscape and had gotten a couple of shots of the group, my daughter included, and that she'd send them over because they were apparently really sweet. I was a bit perturbed by someone apparently just coming over and photographing my child, but thought glass half full and decided it was only a nice gesture. A couple of hours later, Tracy sends me over the solo pictures of my daughter. She says that she didn't give her friend permission to use any of the solo pictures of my daughter on her professional page, but the ones of the scenery and of James's nephew were on there. And if I wanted to give consent, then my daughters could be on there too. They were actually very cute, and I looked on the photographer's page to see the rest of the day. There were some sweet candids of the nephew and some nice couple shots of James and Tracy. But the last picture on there was a family-style portrait of everyone, my daughter included. The caption said something like, "The James surname, Tracy surname know how to have fun." I immediately messaged the page asking for the picture to be taken down as it had my daughter in it without my permission. They replied apologizing for the issue, saying that Tracy had said that the little girl was James's and he gave his consent. I then messaged James asking him to not give consent for anything involving my daughter, and to remind Tracy yet again that he is not my daughter's father. He replied saying he never gave his consent for any group pictures to be on there, and he resented the accusation. I messaged Tracy later on, making it clear that I didn't want my daughter to be used in any kind of situation where the facts weren't clear. And no, James was not her father. I didn't get a reply. I don't know where to go from here. I don't want to be that ex-girlfriend who tries to get her ex to sneak around behind his girlfriend's back for him to see my daughter. But at the same time, he's doing nothing to stop Tracy from acting out this charade of my daughter being James's and therefore hers. If I just cut them both out, then my daughter will be confused, though I know she'll bounce back. I know that James would be hurt too, but I need to put mine and my daughter's feelings before that. It's just getting to me that we were able to be fine and stable through our whole breakup, yet a completely unavoidable situation is what will finish this off. Should I just move on without James and Tracy in my daughter's lives? Am I simply overreacting and becoming that ex regardless? I think that this is a little bit strange. Maybe not a little bit, but very strange. I honestly just think it's better in these kinds of situations to have a fresh start. I understand that the kid would have a negative impact from him walking out of her life, but I genuinely think that's better than this weird, confusing situation. It clearly doesn't work well because OP is complaining his new girlfriend is getting confused with roles. I wouldn't think badly if he was continuing his role as the child's dad, but OP has stated multiple times that isn't the case. The 4-year-old is expected to understand the difference between him and a parental role since she was 1, and now as a fun uncle. If the child was older, I'd have a different view of it, but I just think it's going to get really complicated if OP continues to do this with more relationships. Better to have a clean break in my opinion. Let's go to the update, guys. I had a long think about why I had pursued this route. To clarify to some, I did not force James into this position. He was happy to maintain a relationship with my daughter, given that he had been in her life for several years. The comments concerning where my daughter would be when James settled down and got married and had kids of his own also made me think. The situation was definitely one of convenience, especially given the fact that our relationship ended since James wanted to move away and I did not. I definitely had no plans to challenge any of James' life choices. Nor did I ever expect him to prioritize myself and my daughter over anything else. Something I seemed not to convey clearly in my original post was that James really is just a friend, and has been for the past year to me, and so because of that, I don't use him for anything that a parent would do. On the "he's not a babysitter daycare" post especially, he sees her maybe once every 6 weeks. And since our relationship ended, he's been alone with her 3 times at the most. So this is not me using our former relationship as a tool for free childcare. He asks to see my daughter. I don't make him make time for her. As a final clarifying point, this has never been a "I want him so you can't have him" situation. Our time together will always be cherished, but I do not want to pursue a romantic relationship with James again, and he doesn't with me. On to the update. After reading the comments to my post and thinking over the issues, I decided to send James and Tracy messages apologizing for my reaction and my heat-of-the-moment accusations the day after I made the post. James responded saying that it was water under the bridge, and he would have been annoyed too in this situation. Tracy's response was different. All she sent was a message saying, "I know he is daughter's father." I assured her that James was not my child's dad, and even went as far as to apologize if I had seemed off with her, or if my current relationship with James was an issue. She asked if we could meet up and talk, which I agreed to. We met for coffee, and she said that she had been off with me, but not because of my relationship with James. She said that last year she had found out that she was infertile, and while James knew and was supportive, seeing him with my little girl, who she knew he helped raise for several years, got to her, which resulted in comments about him as daddy. She then said that the whole photographer situation was set up. She had asked her friend who lived near the park to come and take some pictures of her, James, and the children as soon as it was clear that I was going to have to leave. She told James the same thing she told me about the friend happening to be in the park and wanting some portfolio shots, but told the friend out of James's earshot that I was totally fine with the pictures happening and that James was my daughter's father, so she has an on-site parent regardless. She was the one who suggested the family portrait shot. She told the friend to stick that one online, but that the individual ones of my daughter needed to go through me first. She didn't think that I would be interested in looking at the other photos and thought I wouldn't see it. She said that having a picture of her, her partner, a little boy, and a little girl was enough to keep her going since her medical news was hitting her hard. Tracy ended by saying that since James is the only father that my daughter has ever known, she is therefore the closest thing that she will ever have to a child with him. I didn't quite know how to respond. After reading many comments on my post saying that I was a jealous harpy and that Tracy was an innocent bystander, or even calmer version of that mindset, I was surprised that my actual suspicions were actually correct somewhat. This was not the reasoning I ever thought was behind this, though. I thanked her for her honesty and asked if she was talking to anyone else about this. She said she wasn't, but she knew she should be. She also said that James knew nothing of the extent to which she was feeling, other than sometimes she was a little blue. We spent a while searching online for local mental health specialists, and left it with her promising to make an appointment and to talk to James. After getting home, I contacted James to say that I believed there needed to be some distance established between him and my daughter to benefit everyone involved in the situation. He said he agreed and that he would always be there for my daughter if she needed him. I asked my daughter that evening more out of curiosity as to how she views James, and all she said was James's nephew's uncle. So I'm taking that to mean that she is by no means dependent on him at the very least. I don't know if this is the end of this, and I'm sure I will get some criticism for not cutting James out altogether, or for even limiting the existing contact. But I believe that this will benefit everyone, including Tracy, in the long run.